Hey there guys, Noah here, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be kind of giving you guys my preliminary list for the Nightrose Crest variant. That's been... it's probably been theorized for a while now how this was actually going to work, but thanks to the recent reveals of the Nightrose Strike deck set, revealing the Crest maker, and kind of more or less reaffirming what we already knew. Today I wanted to go and show you guys my list, which I took a little inspiration one from a list that I saw recently, that won the, what was it, the Rivals Challenge or whatever the hell. So I kind of took inspiration from that. The only major difference is obviously you see a lot of high rarity stuff in here. It's just cards I know I will never be able to afford because, you know what, I am a broke bitch. But in all seriousness, let's just get started. So this list, admittedly, it's not the greatest. I had to crunch the numbers really hard with the ratios in particular, which you'll see in a bit. So as you can see with the ratios for the grade 3s, we're running 3 of the G Nightrose and then the 1 B Nightrose. And obviously, this is specifically for the bad bounty play. You really don't use it outside of that. Or if you're specifically trying to deal with Link Joker for whatever reason and you want to be able to still have an offensive push before they start locking your shit down, well, there you go. That's kind of the main reason why you run that. 2 copies of Beatrice, because really you have no other really decent extender outside of her. And then obviously the 2 Skull Dragon, because if one ends up in damage, you need another way to get it back in without healing. So there you go, there's that. No Night Storm. And the main reason for that is because we're running Riveting Franche as a full 4 of. Because of the crest, and now it being extremely mandatory because it hits ridiculous numbers, you need this. You absolutely do. There's no way in fuck that you don't. And anyone who tells me otherwise is a goddamn idiot. Also because it kind of works similarly to Night Storm as well, where when it attacks while boosted, you can counterblast 1 and call a different card from drop that's different from her. So she kind of fills in the gap for not having it. The rest of them are grade 2s or a bunch of 1-ofs though, outside of Columbard, which is going to be a 2-of. So that's like your main ride target in most situations, unless that you just don't happen to see him off the Riveting Franche. But regardless, yeah, it's kind of necessary. And then we literally run a bunch of 1-ofs. 1 copy of the Cannoneer, 1 copy of the Ghost Ship, 1 copy of Jessie the Ghosty because of nice countercharging, 1 copy of Greed Shade because you just in case you need to add stuff from drop back to hand later on, and then 1 of the Impex because, yeah, you kind of need it. And then the grade 1s is where I really struggled a bit. You know, and the whole, kind of the rest of the deck is where I struggled a bit to actually find space for shit. We're still able to fit at least 3 copies of Tommy, which sometimes you, even from the double draw off your Crest Bearer, you're not going to see it. So that's kind of the reason why we're doing it like this. 1 Urgula because you need that kind of like double like resist comp column, you know, so on and so forth. Just depends on certain matchups. 1 copy of the Honolly because, you know, it's still really reliable. And 2 Negrabone because, yeah, you just want to make sure you filter enough to a point where you're not completely fucking yourself, and this also helps you in the deck out situation. And then obviously this is going to be the mandatory starter going forward, just because you won't be able to generate the crest outside of that. But then we still have the original, so just for the countercharging, it's pretty necessary considering how many counterblasts we're probably going to be burning in this deck. But yeah, and then for the rest of the cards, you need this just because you could search out Skull Dragon plus Beatrice or whatever else you need. Even in worst case scenario, if you need to search for this, just so that way you have it and drop, it's always a nice option. 1 Elementaria because obviously, and then the trigger lineup is pretty self-explanatory. Running 3 Gustgen. We had to take out the Water Spout because yes, the countercharging is nice, but as long as you see Grenache, countercharging should not be an issue. And especially even more so because we're running 1 copy of Dewey. Like, if you need countercharging for some ungodly reason, it's because everything went bad. And even then, you still have options because, you know, you have Jessie the Ghosty to at least get 1 countercharge per turn. So I didn't feel like you needed it. If you could somehow find space without completely damaging the entire rest of the deck, by all means, let me know how you do that in the comments. But obviously we're running 3 of the heal guards, 4 of the strike crits, 4 of the Rampage Shades because defensive draw is nice, and then 1 of the Blessed Favor. You could experiment with other OTs, but I think Blessed Favor, at least for initial playtesting, is going to be good. And then for the G-Zone, a lot of high rarity, again, just because I wanted to. 2 copies of the Bandit Run. This is your main first like grade 3 stride you want to go into. Just because you can superior stride, get some protects going, and then just not give a shit about what your opponent is doing. Just overall very good. That, and it also turbos your GB. 1 copy of the OG Obadiah, just in case we somehow run into a situation where we get damage denied, and we have no way to get shit out from drop without counterblasting. Well, there you go. There's Obadiah for you. 2 copies of the Bartholomew. Sometimes 1 Bartholomew is somehow not enough. Even if, like, for some ungodly reason, they actually managed to survive, or just random OT sack, well, you could just do the follow-up and not care. 2 copies of the Big Obadiah. Sometimes you just go into him instead of literally anything else because you still have an overall consistent game plan of setting up your drop zone, and because here's another funny thing now too, right? Crest gives +5 for each face-up card in G-Zone. By the time you go into him, you should have at least 2 cards face-up in G-Zone. Plus him, you flip up, that's an additional 15k. And then his own skill gives the cards that are called out an additional 15k because it's for each face-up card. So that's essentially a plus 30k there. So that's pretty fucking insane, in all honesty. Like, goddamn. Obviously, you run Harmonics because you need Harmonics. And then 2 Bounty because, you know what, having V Nightrose as a backup just for whatever situation calls for it is still pretty solid, and most of the other strides you don't typically go into. Then for the G-Guards, we're running 2 copies of the Orania, just specifically because minus crit go burr, and especially considering how often you're going to be at that point where you get like 10 cards and drop pretty easily. Yeah, you really shouldn't be having any issues. 2 Negra Lilies, specifically for the Cannoneer play. You kind of need it sometimes depending on the matchup. And then 2 copies of the Negra Nora. Not only for the flip up, so that way it boosts your crest even further, but because, you know what, we might as well take advantage of that access soul that we're not really using all too much in this deck. So that is the list. Pretty much this list is pretty self-explanatory. And I'm going to be testing out some games on CFA. And you guys can let me know in the comment section below what you think about this list, what you would personally change. Let me know all that good stuff. And yeah, the rest of this footage is just going to be gameplay, showing off the deck in full. So until next time, this is Noah, and I'll catch you guys then. Bye, everyone.